Welcome to the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm JB here in New York. We go out to Los Angeles where Rick Honeycutt, two-time All-Star World Series champion and pitching coach for Los Angeles Dodgers, going to take his cuts in the cage. Always a fan of getting pitchers and pitching coaches into the cage. Rick, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, JB. It's good to be here.
All right, so here's how it's going to work, folks. Get your webcams fired up. Join Rick and myself here in the Chatting Cage. Until you do that, I'm going to go to social media, a la Twitter, get some questions for Rick. So join us here in the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Rick, let's go to Twitter first. Pat Dale, 66, just wants to know, what impressed you about Clayton Kershaw Monday night?
The same as always when Clayton takes the mound. I mean, you know you're going to get a great effort out of him. He had, first three innings were efficient, but also very impressive. And really about the only bad pitch he made all night was the slider that stayed up to Abreu. Other than that, he was in total control and mixed his pitches really well. Still didn't throw maybe as many changeups as we'd like to mix him, but his fastball and slider were extremely good and mixed in some curveballs. So I see Clayton, getting closer and closer to his form, and think we'll see more effort like that out of Clayton going forward.
This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. That is Rick Honeycutt talking about Clayton Kershaw, always impressive on his mound. We have a fan with us now. Young man, what's your name? Where are you from? What's your question for Rick?
Hey, I'm Nick Penny from Raleigh, North Carolina. Rick, who's the most exciting pitcher to watch on the Dodgers?
The most exciting. Well, I like most of them, but I think whenever Clayton takes the mound, you expect good things. When Zach takes the mound, you expect great things. Ryu again continues to impress. Josh Beckett's been extremely good, and it's always good whenever we get a chance to see Kenley at the end of the game because he just overpowered three guys last night with fastballs. So that's the formula. You try to let the starters go deep. That was a great formula last night. 8 innings out of Kershaw and then an inning out of Kenley. So I like them all when they're on the mound, but I like it better when we have a lead and Kenley's got a chance for a save at the end of the game.
That is great thoughts and insights from the pitching coach for the Dodgers. That's Rick Honeycutt. I'm JB. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Bring your questions. Get some FaceTime with your favorite pitching coach, Rick Honeycutt. We'll go back to Twitter now. This is a theme that comes up, Rick, when we found out you're going to be in the cage. A lot of people want to know. JLV4189 sums it up maybe for everybody. What's the most unique thing about Don Mattingly?
The most unique thing? I think, Donnie, what I've been most impressed with him has been his consistency with his demeanor. No matter pretty much what the situation, we've had, a lot of issues over injuries and just a lot of things going on. But Donnie comes to the ballpark every day with a very positive attitude and just expects, the best. So it's I think more his demeanor, his personality, that he's able to, stay even keel. Obviously, in the back room, if you were able to be a fly on the wall in his office, those differences probably come out that you get to hear. But as far as, to the public and at the bench, he's very, very consistent, very, very calming, and he can definitely get mad like anybody can, but at the same time, I think he keeps his poise and presence always on the field.
Great thoughts on Rick Honeycutt about skipper Don Mattingly. And if you could be a fly on the wall, you might see one or two things different, but for the most part, he keeps things even. Another fan steps to the cage. What's your name, where you're from? What's your question for Rick?
Hi, my name's Jeff. I'm from La Mirada. How you doing, Mr. Honeycutt?
Good.
My question is, what was the biggest moment of your career and why?
Well, the biggest moment, I'd have to say a couple of them. I think anytime you get the call and you get to come to the big leagues, obviously those are what your dream and what you've always worked for, what you've thought of as from being a youngster, always thinking that you get that opportunity and then getting the call. So getting that call to the big leagues was obviously, a great thrill. And my first start was in Yankee Stadium back in 1977, facing a lineup of Mickey Rivers, Willie Randolph, Thurman Munson, Reggie Jackson, Chris Chambliss, Craig Nettles, Lou Piniella, Paul Blair, and Bucky Dent. So it was quite shocking one weekend watching these guys on the tube, and then the next weekend facing them in New York. Needless to say, a lot of nerves going on at that time. And then I'd say the second biggest thrill was, playing in the World Series and actually getting a World Series ring in 1989. So those, from start to getting a ring, those were pretty awesome feelings.
This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage, getting some thoughts about the journey for Rick Honeycutt. We got a young fan stepping into the cage right now. Rick, fan, what's your name? Where are you from? What's your question for Rick?
I'm Maya. I'm from Stamford, Connecticut. And what was your favorite team as a kid?
Oh, my favorite team growing up was the Yankees. I think during all those great Yankee teams, my biggest. I was a huge Mickey Mantle fan growing up, and didn't get to see. All we had was the Saturday game of the week back then, so you got to see a few games on TV on the weekends. But I kept the baseball cards. As soon as I got home from school or during the summer, couldn't wait for the paper to get there. Knew everybody's batting average. Loved pitching, but I was you wanted to be like Mickey Mantle. You wanted to be able to, hit home runs. I thought he was the most exciting player when I was growing up, and got to see, just seeing him on TV several times. That kind of kept me motivated to, play baseball and become as good as I could be.
That is great, Rick. Thanks for that. I know young Maya, it's hard to believe in a world that we live in now when everything like the players and the coaches is so available that the game of the week was it, man. That's what you look forward to. Rick, you've had a very illustrious, successful career, both as a player in the professional leagues and as a coach. Vol Baseball wants to know. That's right. They've reached out, Rick. What was your favorite memory of being a Tennessee Vol? And can you sing some Rocky Top?
Well, I could sing a little bit of it. The verse, Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top. But as a Vol, I mean, that was the other part. Growing up, I was a huge Tennessee fan growing up in North Georgia, just outside of Chattanooga. So the paper was, covered the Tennessee Vols a lot. So I really kept up with the football, and actually made a visit there as a high school player. I was a quarterback in high school, even though I wasn't good enough to play for the Vols or an SEC team. I did get to visit two of my teammates, though, in high school did sign. One was Steve Poole, a linebacker, and one was a running back named Jay Bass, that both signed football scholarships there. And I ended up signing a baseball scholarship there. So I think, the biggest thing, just the college experience, playing in the SEC. I guess my biggest moment there was I actually threw a no-hitter against the University of Georgia in the first game of a conference game my junior or senior year. I can't remember which year it was, and drove in the only run because I was a hitter. I was a pitcher, first baseman there. So I actually led the SEC in hitting my senior year. So got a chance to fulfill my dream. I was drafted out of high school but didn't sign. Went to the University of Tennessee and enjoyed the college experience playing baseball, and then got a chance to go on and play pro ball after that. All
right. Well, Rick, no hitter and the only run versus Georgia. The beauty of that story is you can't remember if it was junior, senior year. I don't know. It just happened. It's one of those things I did. Tennessee baseball getting involved. We love that. This is the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. I'm JB. Getting caught up with Rick Honeycutt. The sort of totality is his career. As we know now, at this point, he was a power hitter in college. All right, we got a fan with us. What's your name? Where you're from? What is your question for Rick?
Hey, I'm Jake, and I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and I was wondering how hard breaking balls are on a 15-year-old's arm at this point, and how many times he should throw them throughout the course of the game.
Well, you know, what you find is breaking pitches obviously are different than, you know, the fastball. You keeping the arm in a straighter motion, even though your arm does pronate and on every throw. But if you throw breaking balls properly, it's different. What you try to do, you know, through the, you know, proper mechanics, and you're able to throw certain type of pitches without doing as much damage to your arm as guys that possibly throw them incorrectly. But I still find that the slider and the cutter probably create the most tension on the elbow because of that, you know, the lateness that you're actually trying to snap that pitch. It was extremely good getting a chance to play for the Dodgers and having teachers like Sandy Koufax and Dave Wallace and Ron Paranowski and Red Adams to actually learn more about mechanics and the way that they teach. You know, back then, early on, they were not big proponents of sliders or cutters at that time. It was pretty much fastball, changeup, and curveballs. But getting a chance to work with a Hall of Famer like Sandy Koufax and tried to, you know, work on getting a chance to work on those grips and the proper way of throwing a curveball was, you know, just extremely beneficial to me, and still in my teachings today, trying to teach our people in our system. So I would think the two pitches that are the toughest on the arm would be sliders and cutters. And you wouldn't want a young person to use those two pitches at an early age.
Great advice from Rick Honeycutt for young pitchers as they look to make it to the big league level. And Rick, I want to sort of follow up on that and ask you a question. You deal with a wide array of styles and sort of histories and schools that all come together on your roster. What are the small things you work on with these pitchers to either help them maintain, help them get out of a slump, help them find the right thing? You know, you can't do it all at once. So what's the small thing you focus on with these guys?
Well, again, you know, going back, what was great, I'd pitched 6 years in the major leagues and then got a chance to get traded to the Dodger organization, and probably in one spring training learned more about mechanics and what you should continue to stress to any pitcher, and that is the base. I mean, when you lift I'm a left-handed pitcher, and when you lift your right leg, there's only one thing touching the ground, which is your left foot. And so that leg, that foot is in total control of your delivery. And if it's not used properly, then you're asking the arm and the upper body to make those adjustments. And I just feel like it's so significant that, you know, through our system, when I got back in coaching in the minor leagues, you know, just to pass on that advice. And that's really what we continue to address every day with all of our pitchers. You know, it goes back to understanding they're strong enough to throw any pitch because they're so strong, but it still comes down to control and pitch selection, that you have to understand how the body and the lower part of the body works to make that happen. And that becomes our focus day in and day out, whether when they're doing their side work or even doing just dry work where they're shadowing, is to continue to work on the timing of how your leg and your arm work together.
Well, folks, that is something you're going to get right here at the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. Great insight into pitching, the small thing, that success starts. That whole link of the chain starts there with that foot. Rick, thanks for that. I know young pitchers will take that. Should be taking notes. Another fan steps in the cage. What's your name? Where you from? What's your question for Rick?
Hi, I'm Grant from Cincinnati, and I was wondering how it's helped Clayton Kershaw with established pitchers behind him like Ryu and Beckett.
Well, I think, you know, from the team aspect, what you got to love about Clayton is he's not just a great pitcher, he's a great teammate, and all he really cares about is the team prospering. No matter, you know, obviously he wants to win every time he's out there, but every day he's pulling for his teammates, which I think shows, you know, the difference in today's game. Everybody becomes individualists and kind of care about themselves a little bit, but what, you know, becomes, we've got a winning group here that we should, you know, do well, and he's supportive of all those guys. And I think he's the leader of that group. All those guys that, you know, Clayton came through our system, and then these guys came from outside. And what Clayton has been able to do is, through his work ethic and preparation and the way that he goes about, is infectious to the other guys. And I think anybody that comes here, if you talked with them and then asked them about Clayton, would be that they feel that he makes them better just by watching him on a daily basis. And so I'm not so sure that Clayton, you know, is relaxed because of them. I think he relaxes them because he's able to provide that leadership on a daily basis. And you see guys that come here, and we ask a lot of Clayton from that aspect, is that, you know, it's not maybe so much talking, it's just by his actions every day. And because most of the things that we set up in the way that we prepare for scouting, from the scouting report to how we prepare for every game, you know, these guys come from outside and they go, well, I've never, you know, done this or that before, and it just becomes accepted because, you know, your best pitcher on your team does it, so it's expected of all of our guys.
Great insight into how Clayton Kershaw affects not just his own starts, but the starts around him, the pitching rotation, what that means to be a teammate. A lot of fans, a lot of those that watch don't always understand exactly how starting pitchers work together. Rick Honeycutt letting us know. Rick, before I let you go, we're going to go back to Twitter one more time. This is from Baseball Facts 52. He says, you know, Zach Greinke says that Drew Butera would throw harder than any starter on the team. Is that true? And do we try to track that?
Well, you know, Drew's unfortunately has had to pitch twice for us, and actually had a strikeout on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and without even throwing a, you know, a bullpen or just, you know, kind of warming up. And I think if Drew was on the mound, I'm not so sure. He probably could, you know, increase that a little bit. So to his question, maybe faster than our starters, maybe not faster than the relievers, but it was pretty impressive for him to go out those two outings and, you know, not only throw strikes, but to, like I said, he hit 94 on the radar gun, so that's pretty impressive for someone just stepping on the mound, even though he's been off the mound a few times. I think he had to pitch one other inning in Minnesota. So if he did get on the mound a little more regular, I think he could improve on that.
Rick Honeycutt's got his hands full with both the battery mate and everyone who might jump out and take the mound. Rick, I want to thank you so much for taking time every day. I know you got a lot of work to do. Thanks for being with us.
No problem. I enjoyed it.
All right, Rick Honeycutt, everybody. Thanks for being with us for this round of the Edward Jones Chatting Cage. We'll see you next time.